This massive underground gold treasure changed human history forever. There are treasures that have been buried for thousands of years without humanity ever knowing they existed. There are massive vaults of gold lying right beneath people's feet, yet it was only when a single accidental strike of a pickaxe hit the ground that those secrets finally began to emerge. Some ancient treasures contain not only gold, silver, and precious jewels, but also truths capable of completely changing everything we once believed about human history. From gold-filled burial grounds belonging to mysteriously vanished civilizations to treasures hidden by armies and lost for hundreds of years, all of them have left the archaeological world in a state of shock time and time again. And the more excavations continue, the more people realize that ancient history may still hold countless mysteries that have never been fully uncovered. In fact, even today, no one knows the exact locations of many of these treasures. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Ancient History channel. Dear viewers, throughout human history, great and enormous treasures have always captured people's attention and sparked the imagination of mankind. From the ancient tombs of Chinese nobles filled with gold, silver, and priceless artifacts to mysterious treasures buried deep underground since the Middle Ages, every discovery carries the fascinating story of civilizations that disappeared long ago. But the true value of these treasures lies not only in money or jewels, but also in the historical secrets they have preserved for thousands of years. Through excavation and research, archaeologists have gradually uncovered the lives, beliefs, power, and ambitions of ancient peoples. At the same time, these exquisite artifacts reveal the astonishing craftsmanship of ancient civilizations, people who once created treasures far beyond what we can imagine today. And in this video, we will explore some of the greatest and most mysterious treasures ever discovered around the world. From gold hoards hidden for centuries and ancient tombs overflowing with jewels to priceless artifacts worth billions of dollars that shocked the entire world. And that's not all. In recent years, archaeologists have continued to accidentally uncover enormous treasures that have stunned authorities and researchers across the globe. So what are these incredible treasures? And how many secrets are still lying deep beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered by humanity? Join us as we uncover them in today's video. The 2,000-year-old Roman treasure buried beneath Germany. Can you believe that deep beneath the cold ground of modern-day Germany, an enormous treasure of the Roman Empire lay hidden for nearly 2,000 years without anyone knowing it existed? What makes this even more astonishing is that the treasure did not simply contain ordinary silver or gold, but luxurious objects that once belonged to the most powerful elite of ancient Rome. And behind those glittering artifacts lies a blood-soaked story connected to a catastrophic battle that shook an entire empire. If you don't believe it, then let's travel back to the year 1868, near the city of Hildesheim in what is now Germany. At the time, soldiers from a Prussian regiment were digging the ground to build a new firing range when they unexpectedly uncovered dozens of ancient silver objects buried deep beneath the soil. At first, nobody imagined that this discovery would become one of the most famous Roman treasures ever found on German territory. But the more they excavated, the more astonished they became, as an entire collection of exquisitely crafted Roman diningware appeared before their eyes. The treasure would later become known as the Hildesheim treasure. Among the collection were dozens of silver plates, bowls, cups, and utensils crafted with such extraordinary detail that even modern archaeologists continue to admire them today. And the most remarkable object of all was the legendary Athena bowl, an artifact that sparked years of debate among researchers about the true owner of this mysterious treasure. The Athena bowl, also known by its Roman name, the Minerva bowl, is one of 4 bowls featuring an elaborately decorated central design. Today, the artifact is preserved at the Altes Museum in Berlin, Germany. According to experts, the bowl is made entirely of silver, measuring approximately 10 inches in diameter and weighing nearly 4.4 pounds. Its weight alone reveals just how incredibly valuable this object would have been nearly 2 millennia ago. However, what makes the bowl truly special is not only its precious material, but also the finely engraved image of the goddess Athena at its center. As many of you may know, in Greek mythology, Athena was the goddess of wisdom, craftsmanship, and righteous warfare. On the bowl, the goddess is depicted sitting on a rock, holding a shield in her left hand and a staff of authority in her right, while wearing a crested helmet adorned with feathers. In front of her stands a stone block surrounded by an olive wreath, while above it rests a silent, sacred owl, a symbol associated with Athena throughout thousands of years of history. And that is not all. Many details on the gown, the shield, and even the owl itself were decorated with delicate gold plating. These intricate features clearly show that the bowl was created by some of the most talented artisans of ancient Rome. According to the Altis Museum, the Athena symbol may date back to the 2nd century BC, while the bowl itself was crafted around the 1st century AD. But what fascinated archaeologists most was not the artistic value of the treasure. It was the question of why such a luxurious silver dining set had been buried in the middle of central Germany. Archaeologist Gertrude Plotz-Horster once explained that many objects in the treasure showed signs of wear and repair, proving that they had been used for a long time and collected over many years. This led many experts to believe that the dining set did not belong to an ordinary person, but was likely once owned by a powerful Roman general. Based on these details, experts proposed a shocking theory. The Hildesheim treasure may have been connected to Publius Quinctilius Varus, the famous Roman commander who led campaigns against the Germanic tribes during the reign of Augustus. If this theory is correct, then the treasure may have been buried shortly before one of the most devastating military disasters in Roman history, the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD. During that battle, Varus lost all 3 Roman legions to the Germanic tribes. The defeat was such a massive shock that the Roman historian Suetonius later wrote that Emperor Augustus cried out in despair, "Quintili vare, legionis red," which means, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." After the catastrophic defeat, Varus took his own life, and the Roman Empire abandoned its ambitions of expanding into the lands that are now part of modern Germany. And from that moment on, the Hildesheim treasure vanished for nearly 2,000 years, until it was accidentally rediscovered beneath the frozen soil in 1868. Even today, historians still cannot say with certainty who the true owner of this mysterious treasure really was. But one thing cannot be denied. Every artifact within the Hildesheim treasure feels like a doorway into the glorious yet deeply tragic age of the ancient Roman Empire. The largest Viking treasure in Norway, with nearly 3,000 ancient coins buried for 1,000 years. Everything began on April 10th, when 2 treasure hunters using metal detectors were surveying a piece of land near the village. At first, they thought they might find a few old metal objects buried underground, just like on previous searches. But then the detector suddenly began signaling non-stop, and after only a few shovelfuls of dirt, they uncovered 19 ancient silver coins lying close together beneath the cold, hardened soil. At that moment, they realized they had just stumbled upon something enormous. The 2 men immediately reported the discovery to local archaeologists. The very next day, experts arrived to begin an emergency excavation. And what they saw left everyone stunned. The deeper they dug, the more ancient coins appeared. The metal detectors almost never stopped beeping. Archaeologist May Tove Smyseth later recalled that she had jokingly said, "It would be wonderful if the excavation team found a few more coins to make the discovery even more special." But then the metal detector just kept ringing non-stop, as if an entire treasure hoard was lying directly beneath their feet. The final result shocked the archaeological world. They uncovered a total of 2,970 ancient silver coins, making it the largest Viking coin treasure ever discovered in Norway. The treasure was later named the Morstad treasure, after the farm where it was excavated. Of course, what made this discovery truly extraordinary was not only its enormous size, but also the incredibly diverse origins of the coins. Experts at the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo analyzed the collection and determined that the coins had been minted in many different places, including England, Germany, Denmark, and Norway. This proves that the Vikings were not simply pirate warriors from legendary stories, but also people who maintained vast trade networks across Europe more than 1,000 years ago. Among the valuable coins were many minted during the reign of Ethelred II, the king who ruled England from 978 to 1016. There were also coins from the time of Knut the Great, the ruler who governed England, Denmark, and Norway from around 1016 to 1035. Even more remarkable was the presence of coins dating back to the reign of Otto III, the Holy Roman Emperor who ruled from 996 to 1002. This detail alone reveals that the Morstad treasure reflects an entire era of trade and power stretching across medieval Europe. Researcher Svein Gullbeck of the Museum of Cultural History explained that foreign coins dominated Norway's monetary circulation system for centuries. It was not until the reign of King Harald Hardrada, who ruled Norway from 1046 to 1066, that the country began establishing its own national currency system. Interestingly, archaeologists also discovered several coins minted during Harald Hardrada's reign within the Morstad treasure. This detail helped experts determine that the treasure was likely buried sometime around the 1050s. In addition to coins, scientists also discovered many cut pieces of silver jewelry, items that were once used as a form of exchange during the Viking Age. This suggests that the Vikings had a highly developed trading system and did not simply survive through warfare and raiding as many people still believe. Experts also believe that the cold and stable soil conditions near the village of Rena helped preserve the ancient coins almost perfectly for more than 1,000 years. And even today, excavations are still continuing at the site. That is because archaeologists believe that beneath the soil, there may still be many other valuable artifacts hidden there, perhaps even the remains of an ancient Viking settlement that has yet to be fully uncovered. The oldest gold treasure in human history, found in a 6,600-year-old cemetery in Bulgaria. Hidden deep beneath the ground in the city of Varna, in the country of Bulgaria, lies a secret that slept undisturbed for more than 6,000 years without anyone knowing it existed. It was not an Egyptian pyramid, nor the treasure of Roman kings, yet this place contains something that shocked the entire world of archaeology, the oldest gold artifacts ever discovered by humanity. Even more astonishing, all of it was found inside what appeared to be an ordinary ancient cemetery located just outside the city of Varna. The story began in the fall of 1972, when construction workers in present-day Varna, Bulgaria, were digging soil for a building project. While working, they unexpectedly uncovered several shiny metal objects buried underground. At first, no one believed it was a historic discovery, but as they dug deeper, more and more gold artifacts began to appear, forcing local authorities to immediately call archaeologists to the site. What followed was an excavation that lasted for more than 20 years and eventually revealed one of the most astonishing secrets in human history. After the excavation, archaeologists determined that the site was a massive ancient cemetery containing around 300 graves. Among them, 62 graves held thousands of incredibly valuable gold artifacts. In total, researchers discovered more than 3,000 gold objects dating from approximately 4,600 BC to 4,300 BC. That means the gold had existed for more than 6,600 years, far older than many of the famous civilizations we know today. Even now, experts still consider this to be the oldest gold treasure ever discovered in the world. At a time when many parts of the world were still living in extremely primitive conditions, a community in the Varna region of Bulgaria had already developed astonishingly advanced gold working skills. The items found were not merely ordinary jewelry. They revealed highly sophisticated metalworking techniques from thousands of years ago. Something truly remarkable, wouldn't you agree? The most extraordinary discovery in the entire cemetery was grave number 43, a burial site that left archaeologists nearly speechless during excavation. This single grave alone contained nearly one-third of all the gold discovered in the cemetery. Inside lay the skeleton of a man believed to have died at over 60 years old around 6,000 years ago. He was buried surrounded by countless gold treasures, necklaces, bracelets, earrings, pendants decorated with gold beads, and even an exquisitely crafted axe with a gold-covered handle. Just by looking at the amount of gold buried with him, researchers immediately understood that this was certainly not an ordinary man. Many experts believe the man in grave number 43 may have been a powerful leader, the head of the community, or perhaps even a master goldsmith of his era. The craftsmanship displayed in the artifacts demonstrates an incredibly high level of skill, far beyond what people once believed humans from over 6 millennia ago were capable of achieving. In total, archaeologists recovered about 13 pounds of gold from the Varna cemetery. But to researchers, the true value of this treasure does not lie in the weight of the gold itself. Its real importance comes from the enormous historical significance it carries. According to the Varna Archaeological Museum, which currently houses this famous ancient gold collection, Gold craftsmanship in the Varna region may have been closely connected to the rapid development of mining, metallurgy, and long-distance trade networks during the Bronze Age. This suggests that the area was once a highly advanced center of civilization, rather than the primitive society many people imagine when thinking about ancient times. Museum representatives also state that the Varna cemetery reflects the earliest stage of a society with clear social class divisions. In other words, more than 6,000 years ago, humans in this region may already have formed some of the first social classes in human history. The gold artifacts were not simply symbols of wealth. They also carried sacred meaning and represented the social status of their owners. That is why only a small number of individuals in the cemetery were buried with enormous amounts of gold, especially the man in grave number 43. This has led many archaeologists to believe that Varna may have been one of the world's earliest civilizations, a place where humans learned to mine gold, craft metal, and build complex social structures remarkably early in history. And even today, more than half a century after its discovery in 1972, in the city of Varna, Bulgaria, the mysterious cemetery still leaves many unanswered questions. How were people of that time able to craft gold with such extraordinary precision? Where did they learn these advanced metallurgical techniques? And beneath that ancient soil, could there still be other hidden secrets from a civilization that vanished from human history? What do you think the answers might be? Feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts with everyone. Luxurious gold treasure over 1,000 years old, found in a pre-Columbian tomb in Panama. In central Panama, a country located in Central America, there lies a mysterious ancient cemetery that had been buried by time for centuries. At first glance, the area appeared to be nothing more than ordinary empty fields, but beneath the surface, it concealed a treasure so extraordinary that it stunned the archaeological world. Ancient skeletons, exquisitely crafted gold artifacts, and countless strange relics revealed the existence of a civilization that had once been incredibly wealthy long before Europeans arrived in the Americas. That place is called El Caño Archaeological Park, a famous archaeological park located in central Panama. For many years, it has been known as Panama's Valley of the Kings, because numerous ancient tombs filled with luxurious treasures have been discovered beneath its soil. The story of this magnificent gold treasure began when archaeologists started excavations at El Caño to study pre-Columbian cultures, civilizations that existed before Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. During the excavation, the research team uncovered an extremely unusual burial site known as Tomb Number 3, and it was this tomb that led to one of the most astonishing discoveries ever made in Panama. Inside the tomb, archaeologists found the remains of a person believed to have belonged to the upper class of ancient society. What shocked everyone was that the skeleton was surrounded by an incredible collection of valuable treasures, including gold jewelry, finely crafted pottery, and numerous artifacts of enormous historical and cultural value. What is even more remarkable is that there was not just one skeleton inside the tomb. Researchers also discovered the remains of several other individuals buried alongside the main figure. This suggests that the site may have served as a burial ground for elites or people of special status in ancient Panamanian society more than 1,000 years ago. After analysis, experts determined that the tomb belonged to the Cocle culture, a civilization that flourished throughout the Panama region from around 150 AD until the 16th century, before the Spanish arrived in Central and South America. What especially caught archaeologists' attention was the incredible luxury of the burial offerings found inside the tomb. The artifacts date from approximately the 8th to the 11th centuries, meaning they have existed for more than 1,000 years. Among them were many finely crafted gold objects decorated with symbols commonly seen in pre-Columbian culture, such as bats and crocodiles, spiritual symbols that held important meaning for ancient people in this region. Just imagine this, more than 1,000 years ago, when many parts of the world had not yet achieved advanced metalworking technology, the Cocle people in what is now Panama were already creating astonishingly sophisticated gold artifacts. Every detail on the jewelry and pottery demonstrates extraordinary craftsmanship. And what does all of this prove? Doesn't it clearly show that this civilization was both wealthy and highly sophisticated? But what intrigued researchers even more than the wealth of the people buried there were the secrets surrounding the Cocle civilization's trade networks. Through the artifacts discovered at the site, archaeologists noticed that many items shared striking similarities in style and craftsmanship with relics previously excavated at Sitio Conte, another ancient cemetery located not far from El Caño. These similarities led experts to propose that ancient communities in the region may once have maintained extremely close political and economic relationships. In other words, the Kokle civilization may have established extensive trade and cultural exchange networks thousands of years ago. This is something many researchers had never fully appreciated about Panama's pre-Columbian civilizations until these discoveries were made. El Caño itself is far from an ordinary archaeological site. Since the first excavations began there in the 1920s in Panama, the location has continuously produced discoveries that shocked archaeologists around the world. Numerous ancient tombs filled with gold, silver, and priceless artifacts have been uncovered, making El Caño one of the most important pre-Columbian burial sites in Central America. Researchers believe that the individuals buried there were likely powerful rulers, warriors, or nobles of the Kokle civilization, and the enormous quantities of gold buried with them reflected both their power and their exceptional status in ancient society. Even today, many mysteries surrounding the Kokle civilization remain unsolved. How were they able to develop such advanced gold-working techniques? Why did they possess so much wealth and so many valuable treasures? And could there still be undiscovered ancient tombs hidden beneath the soil of Panama? Perhaps that is why El Caño continues to be regarded as one of the most mysterious places in Panama, a place where every archaeological dig has the potential to completely reshape what humanity knows about the history of ancient civilizations in the Americas. $1.3 billion. Ceramic treasure buried beneath the ground in China. At the end of 1980 in Jiangxi, China, an accidental discovery shocked the archaeological world for many years afterward. It was not gold, silver, diamonds, or an emperor's tomb. Instead, what was uncovered was an enormous treasure of ancient porcelain estimated to be worth more than 10 billion yuan, equivalent to approximately $1.3 billion in today's value. What made the discovery even more astonishing was the fact that the entire treasure had remained silently buried underground for hundreds of years without anyone knowing it existed. Everything began on November 29, 1980, when workers were constructing the No. 2 power plant in Jiangxi Province, China. While digging at the construction site, one worker suddenly discovered a strange deep pit beneath the ground. At first, he assumed it was just an ordinary hole in the earth. But when he shined a flashlight down into it, he noticed flashes of reflected light coming from inside, similar to light bouncing off bottles, jars, or glazed porcelain objects. Ordinary people would never throw bottles or jars into a deep underground pit like that. At that moment, the worker began to suspect that the objects below might be ancient items hidden there long ago. Perhaps they were valuable cultural relics. And that very thought led to one of the most shocking excavations in the history of modern Chinese archaeology. As soon as authorities received the report, archaeologists and government officials immediately arrived at the site. The mysterious pit happened to be located in Jiangxi, a region often called the porcelain capital of China. Because of that, researchers became even more convinced that something incredibly valuable was hidden underground. When experts descended into the pit to investigate, they were greeted by stacks of blue and white objects piled on top of one another. And after only a few minutes of observation, everyone realized they had just uncovered an extraordinarily rare ancient porcelain treasure. For more than an hour, the archaeological team worked with extreme caution to remove all the artifacts from the pit, because most of them were fragile ancient ceramics that could easily break. Each piece was carefully lifted out by hand amid overwhelming excitement and anticipation. Once the artifacts were transported to the museum for cataloging, the results left everyone stunned. In total, 245 cultural relics were discovered inside the mysterious pit, including 239 porcelain items alone. But what nearly left archaeologists speechless was the discovery of 19 pieces of blue and white porcelain from Jingdezhen, one of the rarest and most valuable types of porcelain in Chinese history. You have to understand that Yuan Dynasty blue and white porcelain is considered one of the most famous and expensive ceramic styles in the world. This porcelain is known for its distinctive blue and white coloring, intricate patterns, and extremely sophisticated production techniques. In the entire history of global archaeology, fewer than 300 pieces of Yuan dynasty blue and white porcelain had ever been discovered. Yet this single pit in Jiangxi contained 19 pieces at once, a number considered truly record-breaking. In addition to the rare blue and white porcelain, experts also uncovered 168 pieces from the Longquan kilns, along with many red-glazed porcelain artifacts of enormous value. After evaluation, experts concluded that the total value of the entire treasure was no less than 10 billion yuan. According to researchers, this large collection of rare porcelain most likely belonged to an extremely wealthy family living during the middle to late period of the Yuan dynasty, which ruled China from 1271 to 1368. However, what fascinated people most was the question of why this treasure had been buried deep underground for hundreds of years. Some believe the owner intentionally hid the massive fortune to protect it from war or political chaos. But for some unknown reason, they never returned to retrieve it. And so, the treasure remained hidden in darkness for centuries until it was accidentally discovered in Jiangxi in 1980. Tiny hairpin worth over $125 million found in a Ming Dynasty tomb in China. Everything began in 1954 when archaeologists started excavating an ancient tomb located on Wufeng Mountain in Jiangsu Province, China. At first, researchers believed it was simply an ordinary joint burial tomb belonging to Ming Dynasty nobility. But once the tomb was opened, experts discovered the remains of one man buried together with 4 women. This immediately attracted the attention of archaeologists. According to traditional customs in imperial China, a husband would usually only be buried with his primary wife, while concubines would be buried elsewhere. However, in this tomb, both the official wife and the concubines were buried together in the same place. Based on inscriptions found inside the tomb, researchers identified the owner as Zhang Anwen, a scholar who lived during the Ming Dynasty. The 4 women buried alongside him were his wife and concubines. The arrangement of the tomb suggests that, while alive, these women may actually have lived together in relative harmony, something extremely rare in the rigid feudal society of that era. Throughout most of the excavation, experts found almost no burial objects that seemed especially extraordinary. There were no mountains of gold or massive treasures like those discovered in many other noble tombs. But then, while examining the remains of one concubine, archaeologists suddenly noticed a tiny object resting on the woman's head, and that small object became the reason the entire excavation gained worldwide attention. It was an exquisitely crafted hairpin known as the golden cicada jade leaf. The hairpin was designed in the shape of a golden cicada resting on a white jade leaf. Although extremely small, the level of craftsmanship astonished even modern experts. The cicada was made entirely of gold, with every detail appearing incredibly lifelike. Even the tiny patterns on the wings were carved with unbelievable precision. Meanwhile, the leaf beneath it was crafted from mutton fat white jade, one of the most precious forms of jade in ancient Chinese culture. Most astonishing of all, every vein on the jade leaf was carved so delicately that it resembled a real leaf. Experts believe that the craftsmanship required to create such an object during the Ming Dynasty was truly extraordinary. This was not merely an ordinary piece of jewelry, it was a genuine work of art. After examination and appraisal, specialists estimated the value of the golden cicada jade leaf hairpin at around 900 million yuan, equivalent to more than $125 million. Today, this priceless artifact is preserved and displayed at the Nanjing Museum. But what makes the hairpin truly special is not only its enormous monetary value, it is also the symbolism and emotional meaning hidden behind it. In ancient Chinese culture, the image of the cicada symbolized rebirth, or shedding one's shell. When cicadas mature, they emerge from underground and leave behind their old shells to begin a new stage of life. Because of this, ancient people viewed cicadas as symbols of rebirth, reincarnation, and the beginning of a new journey after death. The fact that the golden cicada jade leaf hairpin was placed on the concubine's head suggests that the tomb's owner, Zhang Anwen, may have wished for the woman to be reborn peacefully in another world. Many researchers believe this also reflects the special affection Zhang Anwen had for this concubine. An 800-ton gold treasure on a deserted island in Chile, a 300-year-old secret finally discovered. For nearly 300 years, people whispered stories about a massive treasure buried somewhere on a deserted island off the coast of Chile. Some believed it was nothing more than a pirate legend. Others thought the hundreds of tons of gold had long ago sunk to the bottom of the ocean. But then, in early 2005, the entire world was shaken when a Spanish engineer announced that he had discovered the legendary treasure, worth more than $10.5 billion, buried beneath the ground on Robinson Crusoe Island. And what makes the story even more unbelievable is that the mystery behind the treasure sounds even more dramatic than a Hollywood movie. The story began in early 2005 when Juan Salinas successfully developed an extremely advanced metal-detecting robot. The device was capable of detecting metal signals at depths far beyond the reach of ordinary detectors. Armed with this remarkable machine, Juan Salinas and his team traveled to Robinson Crusoe Island, a famous island located west of Chile in the Pacific Ocean. For generations, the island had been tied to countless legends about lost pirate treasures and ancient European ships, and then, the impossible finally happened. During the search, Juan's robot suddenly detected an extremely powerful metal signal buried about 49 feet underground on the island. When the data was analyzed more carefully, the research team was nearly speechless. The results suggested that beneath the surface could lie a gigantic treasure consisting of gold, silver, gemstones, and many rare artifacts. According to initial estimates, the treasure could contain as much as 800 tons of gold, along with countless jewels and other valuables, with a total estimated value of around $10.5 billion. The news immediately shocked the entire world. Local officials in Chile quickly declared that the treasure should belong to them. Meanwhile, the Chilean government also demanded ownership of half the treasure's value under national law, since the discoverer would legally be entitled to only 50% of the fortune. Many people assumed Juan Salinas would immediately enter a fierce battle over the enormous wealth. But what surprised the public was how calm he remained. Juan stated that he was not overly concerned about money and agreed to divide the treasure according to Chilean law. Half would belong to the government, while the other half, he said, should be shared among the residents of Robinson Crusoe Island and the members of his research team. And of course, considering the staggering value of the treasure, everyone involved stood to receive millions of dollars. But what fascinated the world most was the true origin of this 800-ton gold treasure. According to historical accounts passed down through generations, the story began in 1714. At that time, Spanish Admiral Juan Esteban Ubilla and a fleet of 14 ships were transporting treasures seized from the Inca civilization back to Europe. The fortune was almost unimaginable in size. It included gold, silver, gemstones, and countless priceless artifacts from the ancient Inca civilization. However, during the voyage across the ocean, the fleet was struck by a violent storm that badly damaged many of the ships. Fearing the complete loss of the treasure, Ubilla ordered around 80 wooden chests filled with gold, silver, and jewels to be temporarily buried on Robinson Crusoe Island. After marking the treasure's location on a map, he and the remaining crew departed the island aboard the surviving ships and attempted to return to Spain. But tragedy soon followed. Ubilla and many of his sailors later drowned at sea, taking the secret of the treasure with them to the bottom of the ocean. As a result, the treasure disappeared from history for decades. Then, 47 years later, a man named Cornelius Webb and the crew of the ship Unicorn were sent by the British Crown to search for the legendary treasure. According to many historical records, Webb actually succeeded in finding it. But greed quickly turned everything into disaster. Once the crew realized how enormous the treasure was, many sailors began plotting a mutiny to seize the gold for themselves. Realizing the danger, Webb secretly moved the treasure to another location before detonating the gunpowder storage aboard the Unicorn, killing the mutineers, and himself as well. Once again, the true location of the treasure vanished. Then in 1950, people accidentally discovered a letter left behind by Cornelius Webb before his death. The letter contained clues to the treasure's location, but everything was written in an extremely complex code. From that moment on, countless treasure hunts began across Robinson Crusoe Island, which covers about 18 square miles. Local residents, treasure hunters, and even wealthy foreign millionaires all traveled there hoping to change their lives forever. In 1988, American millionaire Bernard Kaiser reportedly spent enormous sums of money excavating almost the entire island. But every attempt ended in failure. That is, until Juan Salinas appeared in 2005. And ever since the discovery of the 800-ton gold treasure, Robinson Crusoe Island has transformed from a nearly forgotten deserted island into a world-famous destination. Hundreds of people now arrive there every day, not only to visit the island, but also to dream that beneath its soil, even more legendary treasures may still remain hidden and undiscovered. Human greed is truly difficult to understand sometimes, isn't it? The most infamous 800-ton gold treasure of a Japanese general remains unsolved. Off the coast of the Philippines lies a small body of water known as Calatagan Bay, a place that for decades has been tied to a legend so powerful that it continues to obsess treasure hunters around the world. People believe that beneath the ground and under the sea floor, there lies a hidden fortune containing hundreds of tons of solid gold and countless jewels worth billions of dollars, secretly buried by the Japanese military during World War II. This legendary fortune is known as the Yamashita treasure, and perhaps the most terrifying part of the story is that nearly everyone who supposedly knew the treasure's true location died, taking the secret with them to the grave. Even today, the Yamashita treasure remains one of Asia's greatest unsolved mysteries. The story began during the final years of World War II. At that time, Imperial Japan was rapidly expanding its war across Asia, looting gold, artifacts, and wealth from many occupied countries. According to numerous historical accounts, the amount of treasure collected by the Japanese military was almost impossible to imagine. In 1944, General Tomoyuki Yamashita, one of Japan's most famous commanders, was sent to the Philippines on a special mission. According to legend, he ordered soldiers to dig hundreds of secret tunnels throughout the Philippines, especially around Calatagan Bay, in order to hide the enormous treasure before Allied forces arrived. Stories claim that after the gold, silver, and jewels had been buried, the Japanese military executed nearly everyone involved in constructing the tunnels to eliminate witnesses. In the end, the only person who supposedly knew the exact locations of the treasure sites was General Yamashita himself. But that secret died with him. In 1946, Tomoyuki Yamashita was executed by hanging after the war. And from that moment on, the true location of the treasure became a legend that drove thousands of people obsessed with finding it. For many years afterward, endless rumors surrounded Calatagan Bay in the Philippines. Some claimed they had seen secret tunnels, others insisted they had personally uncovered gold, but no one was ever able to provide truly convincing proof. Then, in 1971, the story suddenly exploded back into public attention. A Filipino carpenter named Rogermo Rocos was reportedly given a mysterious map by a Japanese friend, a map said to reveal the location of the Yamashita treasure. Believing in the map, Rocos began an excavation that lasted for 7 straight months. And then, something unbelievable supposedly happened. He claimed to have discovered several gold bars along with a golden Buddha statue weighing more than 1 ton. The news immediately shocked the Philippines and quickly appeared in newspapers around the world. But before he could enjoy the enormous wealth, police suddenly raided Rocos's home and confiscated all the gold and the Buddha statue. Soon afterward, people from everywhere rushed to Calatagan Bay hoping to find the Yamashita treasure themselves. Even then, President Ferdinand Marcos became entangled in the story. What shocked many people was that after being accused of corruption and possessing suspiciously enormous wealth, Ferdinand Marcos once claimed that his fortune came from discovering Japanese treasure. Several officials close to him reportedly made similar claims. Yet strangely, no one knew where the gold actually was. The mystery deepened further when the newspaper Maynilad Daily News suddenly published a report claiming that most of the Yamashita treasure was actually hidden beneath the floor of Calatagan Bay, about 70 miles south of Manila. According to the article, the treasure could contain around 800 tons of gold and silver worth approximately $8 billion, not including highly important military documents. But the story did not end there. Later, public attention shifted to Fort Santiago, one of the Philippines' most famous historical landmarks. An elderly man who had been imprisoned there by Japanese forces in 1944 revealed to presidential advisor Emmanuel Soriano that he had once been forced to help bury 140 chests of Japanese gold beneath the fortress. He even drew a map showing the treasure's supposed location and claimed the gold could be worth as much as $700 billion. The revelation stunned the Philippine government. In 1988, President Corazon Aquino, secretly authorized an American expedition team to excavate beneath Fort Santiago in search of the Yamashita treasure. In a later report, the expedition claimed to have discovered evidence pointing to nearly 400 tons of gold. But then tragedy suddenly struck. During the tunnel excavation, part of the structure collapsed, burying 2 workers alive underground. The incident immediately sparked public outrage across the Philippines, and the entire treasure hunting operation was exposed. Eventually, the Philippine Congress decided to completely ban all Yamashita treasure hunting activities throughout the country. Even so, the strange story never truly disappeared. At times, the treasure is said to be hidden in Calatagan Bay. Other times, rumors claim it lies beneath Fort Santiago, and there are even stories suggesting the treasure was secretly moved overseas long ago. All these mysteries have made the Yamashita treasure almost impossible to resist. And even today, somewhere in the Philippines, there are still people quietly digging through deep jungles, diving beneath the ocean floor, or excavating beneath ancient structures, hoping that one day they will become the first person to truly lay hands on the greatest gold treasure in Asian history. So what do you think? Do you believe the treasure will ever truly be discovered and brought into the light? And if it is, how much do you think the treasure would actually be worth? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone. As you can see, the greatest and most enormous treasures we have discovered are not just valuable material riches, but also living witnesses to human history and culture. Every discovery opens the door to mysterious stories, helping us better understand the lives, beliefs, and ways of thinking of ancient people. These treasures continue to inspire curiosity and the desire to explore, reminding us that the past still holds countless fascinating secrets waiting to be uncovered. Which treasure impressed you the most? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Ancient History channel so you won't miss any other exciting discoveries. And for now, goodbye, and we'll see you again next time.